it has been removed now.
Yeah, because I mean, for example, in Hong Kong, but by law, I don't know if a university or government would be able to issue a statement like that saying you are not allowed to take an internship with Oxfam.
I don't think so.
It would be extraordinary if they tried to do that in Hong Kong. I don't even know if they would be allowed to do it. If they, I mean, you imagine that happening in a European country or in America. I mean, most of the students would laugh at, they'd just ignore it, wouldn't they? Actually, but the power you see that in mainland China, that a lot of students would be thinking, okay, shit. We better not do it, otherwise we're going to get in trouble, and that's power, isn't it? That's real power, and so on.
And another significance of this Oxfam story is that the Beijing can send signals and warnings, silent warnings to other activist groups. Look at Oxfam.
Exactly. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Don't be a second Oxfam.
Yeah. I mean, and also they're sending a signal sort of to parents, aren't they, and to the middle classes in mainland China. They're kind of giving an indication. They're saying, make sure your children don't join this particular NGO or this particular. Do you see what I mean? In some ways, and that's pretty good. That's pressure, isn't it? In that sense.
And if my memory serves me, a university in Canada, I think it's University of Calgary, if not University of Alberta, but either one. Lately, the Education Bureau in China removed them from the list of universities that China recognized, just because the university gave an honorary degree or met with Dalai Lama.
Right.
So it's a way to let them know that, don't think you can get away. And it was very funny. The university didn't know it before. It was until some Chinese student approached them, telling them that, some of our graduates, it could be quite an issue, because if you got your degree from that university, and when you went back to China, when you want to seek a job, and then they're not really recognizing it, it could be a problem. But don't think that you can get away if you have affiliation with Dalai Lama. So again, this not only this isn't only a punishment for the university. Again, sending a signal to other universities. Think twice when you give an honorary degree to Dalai Lama.
That's interesting, isn't it? I don't know with a university how much. It depends which country and so on. But I'm sure there are some universities out there who would actually be, would actually take something like that into account, wouldn't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm presuming. But going back to the Oxfam thing, Kenneth. I mean, for example, if you had children, would you stop them joining Oxfam? Or
not really. Why would I? I mean, it's someone's freedom to join any kind of organization, even if they are trying to join some triad society. I can't really stop them. It's their choice, but I have the responsibility to tell them what might happen, but not saying no, you definitely shouldn't join something. Like that's what I mean by freedom.
Even though they think, Kenneth, Dad, I'd like to join DAB.
Well, sure, go ahead. And you're no longer my son. Well, I will tell you what will happen, but that's up to you to choose. I won't say no, you shouldn't join, or no, if you join, I will kill you. No, it's just yeah.
What about you, man?
Well, I was going to say,
Dad, if I join DAB.
Well, it's a bit like. It's a bit like joining a cult, isn't it? Would you? It's like saying to your it's like saying, do you want to join an organisation which brainwashes people and so on? I mean, it's I don't know quite what to say about that. I'd have to say, if my child came to me and said, "Listen, I'm really seriously thinking of joining." the DAB or a cult of some kind. You know, let's say the Mormons or. I've probably offended a lot of Mormons out there now, haven't I?
Be careful, man.
That's not a cult.
They're waiting for you outside.
I'm going to be in big trouble now.
They're wearing suits in black, waiting outside.
Okay, let's not name any particular religious or cult, but let's say a particular group.
Yeah, because no matter if you're using any group to compare that with DAB, it's certainly an insult, right? So you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I've got to be careful what I say now.
Okay, let's just make it DAB, okay?
Yeah.
For now. Yeah.
I would say, honestly, I think I would be concerned, actually, if my child stopped thinking. Because I would say to them, do whatever you want, join whatever group you want to, as long as you actually think about what you're doing, and you are not being pressured into it, or. But I'd definitely say, don't join a illegal group. I think. In terms of, or don't whatever you do, don't join an organised crime group, because they are pretty nasty, or a terrorist group as well. Actually, I can see how some young people they do. I can, in some ways, I can understand why some Muslims do get involved in terrorist groups, young people, because they see that as people. Fighting, doing real stuff like that. But, I would say to them, there are other ways of activism. You can do it in a non-violent way, actually. And in some ways, if you think, you can be just as effective in a totally non-violent way. So I'd say no need to join a terrorist group. And it's the, in terms of, a terrorist act, it can suddenly, have an impact and so on. But, in terms of, doing good, you've got to think of, peaceful ways to do it. So I'd say don't join a terrorist group, don't join an organised crime group. But if you really, really have to, you can join the DAB. But only if you really have to.
Okay. So how about if your child asks you, Dad, can I take drugs?
Well, that leaves us on to the next topic of conversation, actually, because that has been another issue in the newspapers, big news in Hong Kong in the past few days about that very issue, about drugs in schools. And let's move on and talk about that, because it was shocking when the news came out. There's been a survey done that it's not just drugs have been found in secondary schools, also shockingly in primary schools, and albeit it is a very small amount of percentage of people in primary schools taking it, but it's still an amount. I think it's something like 1.6% of primary school students in Hong Kong have taken drugs. Usually, I think psychedelic. Ketamine, isn't it? Which is the big drug in Hong Kong, and apparently, according to the news, this is the first time they've done actual survey to do with including the primary schools. So. That's been pretty big news, and that would be genuinely quite alarming to a lot of parents, wouldn't it? Right. To read that. Also, some primary schools are